What is up? Back again with one of the more fun episodes I've ever done in Too Tall Sports podcast history. My buddy and loyal listener, Andrew, and I were in Vegas live draft party reaction to every pick of the first round. So this is a replay of all of our reaction to all the picks that happened in the 2022 NFL draft, live from a party in Vegas that we were invited to, which was a lot of fun. I've never done a live show like that before. So you're going to see us on camera. If you're watching YouTube, check it out. You can see our reactions, our facial expressions, all that stuff. Or if you want to listen on audio, go ahead and check out Apple, Spotify, and all the audio platforms. This is really fun. So this is my first NFL draft experience I've ever been to. And just to be around it and in it, it was really cool and it was a lot of fun. And I think you guys are going to love our reactions. You know, we did a lot of research leading up to this. You know, we're not college football experts, but we know enough to definitely give our opinions on it. We had a lot of mock drafts to look through and a lot of player lists and talent evaluators thinking they know everything. And look, nobody knows anything. That's the bottom line. So we had a great time with this. So we do go through each pick and what the teams decided to do, what our opinions are in the first round. And then the last 10 minutes or so is more of the wrap-up show, what we liked, what we didn't like, you know, surprises, disappointments, favorite moves by our team, by the teams in the draft. So if you really want to just get our last recap, go ahead and listen to the last 10 minutes. However, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. So I hope you guys do as well. As always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. Check out all my stuff on social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports. I have a Facebook group you can look at if you're old school and you still like Facebook. But all the platforms, just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. And wherever you can like, share, comment, leave a review, I'd really be grateful for that. So just help boost the show. But check me out at Too Tall Sports Podcast. I really enjoyed this episode. I think you guys will too. It was a lot of fun. So if you want a recap of the first round of the NFL draft, we got you covered. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I'll see you on the other side. All right, we're live in Vegas. What's going on? The site of the NFL Draft 2022. This is the Too Tall Sports Podcast. And of course, I have to have my favorite friend and supporter who listens to my podcast all the time, my buddy Andrew, is joining us for the show, live reaction. Happy to have him here and be at the site of the draft. Andrew, thank you for being here today, man.
Thank you for having me, Brad. It's a pleasure.
Hey, glad to have you. What are you looking forward to most? Which team are you most excited to see in this draft?
I would start with the New York teams, see what they do. They're so far behind everyone else. I want to see what New York's got. They got to create a buzz. Both those teams are lacking. And then how about for you?
You know what? I want to see if all these teams with multiple picks in the first round, you got the Chiefs, you got the Lions, you got the Eagles, the Packers, to see what they're going to do. We'll see the Saints, the Texans, but you mentioned the New York teams. Those two teams desperately need help at all levels. So I'm excited to see that. Which players are you intrigued by the most going into this draft?
I would start with Thibodeau. Thibodeau is one of my favorite guys. I think he's a can't-miss guy. I really do. I know people question his motor and his outside stuff. I think he's a can't-miss prospect without a doubt. And Jordan Davis from Georgia. He's an absolute freak. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up and see what he does. I think he'll be amazing wherever he goes.
I think you're right. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll come back in a second once we get the live round picks, and we'll get our reaction to the first pick right after this.
2022 NFL Draft. The Texans Go Jaguars select Trayvon Walker.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We figured this would happen. Trayvon Walker goes number 1 overall. The DN from Georgia goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this is a dream scenario for the Lions to get the hometown kid, Aiden Hutchinson. But this guy's one of the most athletic people in the draft. Georgia's got a ton of great defensive players, but he seems to be far and away the number 1 consensus pick on that team. What are your thoughts on Trayvon Walker?
I think it fills immediate need for the Jaguars. I think he works perfect for him. I think also he can edge rush. He can pass rush out of the 3 spot, out of the 5. I think he's perfect for him, especially if they want to run 3-4-4-3, move him around the line. I think he fits the team perfectly.
He's 6'5", 272. His comp is Eric Armstead, who's been in the league for a long time. Last year, he had a career high in tackles for a loss with 7.5, 6 sacks last year. Started all 15 games at tackle for the national champion Georgia Bulldogs. He seems to be one of the freakiest players in this draft.
You just said it, hitting the spot, being the Georgia lineman, doing everything. I think he's there. I think he's ready to do it. And the pick is already in for the Lions. That mean Hutchinson is coming?
They ran that pick up there for Hutchinson, man. They could not wait. This is a huge deal for the Lions. Now, is he the best player in this draft? We don't know. But is this the fit for the hometown kid from Michigan, went to Michigan, and then playing for the Detroit Lions?
And the production was there last year. He had 14 sacks. I mean, he went off against Ohio State, the biggest game of the year. Yes, he didn't show up against Georgia, but that Ohio State game, he was a difference maker.
I agree. No, we'll see what the Lions do. We'll be back when the Lions officially announce their pick. And here go the Lions.
The 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Aiden Hutchinson.
We're in a large crowd of people here watching the draft in Vegas. Aiden Hutchinson, the Michigan man, stays home in Detroit and goes to the Lions. The defensive end, he was the best defensive player, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, led the conference with 14 sacks. We kind of expected this, but what are your thoughts on Aiden Hutchinson?
I think he's absolutely amazing. I think he's the real deal, ready to start right away. I think one of the underrated things about him, people think he's just a pure pass rusher. I think he's very good in the run game too. He's a high motor guy too, very similar like a Jared Allen, Max Crosby type guy, just high energy, nonstop motor.
Right. No, he's going to be tough to stop. You know, they have his comps as Max Crosby, possibly a Jared Allen type. You know, he's 6'7", 260, he's a big dude, man. So he's going to create a lot of problems. He's going to be tough to stop for opposing offenses. So good pick for the Lions. They get the hometown kid. They're going to be happy. The Lions deserve a good pick at some point in the draft.
The Houston Texans select Garrett Stingley Jr.
Whoa. The Texans go with Stingley, the defensive back from LSU. Kind of a surprise here. I know you like Stingley, but the last few years he's been a huge question mark with injuries. He had good as a freshman, but what are your thoughts on this pick by the Texans?
I am surprised. I thought this was going to be Sauce. I thought Sauce was a guaranteed pick right here. I thought he was a surefire over Stingley. But if you watch Stingley's highlight videos, he was fantastic his freshman year on the national championship game. He might have been the best defender on that team. So,
yeah,
I see what they're doing, but they're drafting on potential in that year alone. Because last 2 years, he's played, I think, 13 games, I believe.
I agree. I mean, I'll give you his numbers here. So he's 6 feet, 190, pretty big, pretty big for a corner, not too small. He's got a pro frame, they say, according to the Ringer. He's an elite athlete. He's definitely a good athlete, but you just don't know, can he translate to the next level, even though he had early success in college. So I don't know if you see any potential for him as an all-pro type of corner.
I do. I think he'll start from day one. He addresses immediate need for the cornerback. I think he'll be, not right away, but I think 2 or 3 years from now, if he stays healthy, he will be a lockdown corner. I truly do think that.
This was kind of a surprise. I guess for us, it was a surprise. So we'll see. We thought Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati was going to go, but looks like Derek Stingley will be going to the Texans. The Jets are up next. A lot of question marks for them. We'll see what they do with this pick coming up.
The New York Jets select Sauce Gardner.
Hey. And my co-host for today, Andrew, called this one. The Jets take the cornerback Ahmad, a.k.a. Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. The dude hasn't allowed a touchdown in 3 years as a cornerback. What are your thoughts on this pick for the Jets?
I think the Jets actually made a good pick.
They actually got one right.
I think they did well with this. I think he'll fit well in Saleh's defense. I think it's a great pick for the Jets.
I agree. I think Sauce Gardner, he's clearly, outside of Stingley, you would think he's the best corner in this draft. So I think Sauce is by far one of the best. If you look at his scouting report, he's got all the tools. He's incredibly tough on defense to go against as a receiver. So I'm going to look up his stuff real quick here just to make sure I have it all right. His comp is Richard Sherman. So I know that's what you think of him as well.
I see it because they're both tall and lengthy. They have good body position. They're very good at that stuff. I think I definitely see the look with Sherman with them.
I agree. 6'3", 190. He was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year. Like I mentioned, 0 pass touchdowns allowed in over 1,000 career snaps. This is a no-brainer for the Jets. I don't think it gets any better than that. And like you said, they finally got one right. And we'll come back with the other bad New York team, the New York Giants at number 5.
The New York
All right, and the New York Football Giants go with another defensive player, the fifth one in a row. First time since '91 they've had 5 defensive players picked again back-to-back consecutively in this draft. Kayvon Thibodeau, to you think is the freakiest player in this draft. So what do you think about him?
I think he's a surefire guy. I think he'll come in and start right away, and he'll make an impact right away. To me, I think he might be defensive rookie of the year with them. I'm very excited to see what he does. I
think you definitely have potential there. Plus, his player comp, what I see is Myles Garrett, which obviously he's a freak of nature when he's playing. 6'4", 254. He's unanimous All-American, 7 sacks last year, 12 tackles for a loss in 10 games, 19 sacks in his career in 31 games. Some people question his motor, but the athleticism is there, and the guy seems to be one of the toughest people to stop on the offensive line.
The only issue I kind of see with the red flag with him is Oregon lost one of the big house without Thibodeau. So I think there's some things that I see why people are skeptical of him, but you watch him play, if his motor's going, he's amazing.
Yes, I agree. The Carolina Panthers, lots of intrigue going into this pick. We'll see who they go with, whether it's quarterback or not, but we'll see what the Carolina Panthers do next.
The 2022 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select tackle, North Carolina State.
So the Panthers go with a tackle who we kind of thought might get picked here. Andrew, you were on this from the beginning. Ikem Ekwonu from NC State. Arguably one of the best offensive linemen in this draft. What are your thoughts on this pick for the Carolina Panthers? They did not go quarterback.
The Panthers had to go offensive line. They had the worst offensive line according to some metrics last year. They had to go offensive line. They'll get a quarterback either later or through trade. Maybe Baker will end up there. You never know. But I think they had the writing was on the wall, especially get a guy that just played football down the street from Charlotte and Raleigh. So I think this was a no-brainer pick for him.
Yeah, he's from North Carolina, 6'4", 310, unanimous All-American. He's allowed only 3 sacks on 476 pass block attempts. He's a stud, right? He said that according to CBS, he's a master with serious twitch, striking ability, mobility, pops on film, and he creates a lot of torque and movement to defenders, sustains his blocks, all that stuff. He's going to be a top. He should be a top O lineman for the Carolina Panthers, and like Andrew said, stayed in state. So good pick by the Carolina Panthers. Any doubt that they would go O line there, or you thought this was the pick?
I thought for sure, without a doubt. Even though some people might have thought a quarterback.
Yeah, I thought.
I don't think a quarterback still should be picked here. I don't think any of these guys worthy of a top 10 pick. I would almost argue, are they even any of these quarterbacks worthy of a top 15 pick? So you never know. Maybe the Panthers will make a trade later, do something, and trade and get somebody. But yeah, I think this is a no-brainer pick.
All right, we'll see what the Giants are back on the clock again. They got 2 top 10 picks, so we'll see what they do next with their next pick. Wow, they did do it. So the Giants get offensive tackle Evan Neal, the consensus, probably the best tackle in this draft, the most athletic. The dude's 337 pounds. He's an absolute freak from Alabama, 6'7", 337. He's a junior from Alabama. I'll just read some couple things here, and I'll get to you in a second. Consensus All-American, only 2 sacks allowed in 15 starts. He's got 40 career starts, was on the 2020 National Championship team. Notes here says he's insanely large for his size, and he moves extremely well. This is, Alabama, Nick Saban produces dudes. So what are your thoughts on this pick for the Giants at tackle?
I think it's a great pick by the Giants. I think this is a no-brainer. I think they did it right with this. They say his player comes just a bigger Andrew Thomas, who's on the other side of the line with the Giants. I think the reason he's perfect for him is because he can play all the different line positions. I think he fits the team mold and everything well. The Giants did well so far in this draft, stirring up the trenches. I'm impressed, especially by the Giants.
I'm impressed too. They get Thibodeau and they get Neal. They're working on both sides of the line there. They're obviously going to see what Daniel Jones is next year on kind of a prove-it one-year deal almost. So they don't have to pay him yet. But are you surprised the Giants didn't go quarterback here?
I am not. I think the Giants will figure out what they got Daniel Jones. They don't know necessarily yet. I think they're smart on declining that option and not having the lame duck year like the Browns did with Baker Mayfield. But I think it's smart. And also, the biggest question is, do you think they keep Saquon Barkley now? I mean, that's what – because he's been in talks for trades. Do you think he stays, or do you think –
I think they keep him because they drafted him so high. I don't think he goes anywhere, but he's a I mean, this is why you can't pay running backs, because they get hurt all the time. So I'm with you on I would not pay Saquon Barkley long term. I don't know about you.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
He just needs to stay healthy. The potential's there if he stays healthy, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Right.
Exactly. But I do believe in Saquon. I do think he'll still be a player in this league. I think in a sense it might be somewhat of a good thing. He has been banged up the last couple of years, or the wear and tear because he's not playing. So it might not be a bad thing that he's missed some games.
He's going to be fresh going in next year. We'll see what happens with the Giants the rest of their draft. But so far, so good for the two New York teams. The Atlanta Falcons with a lot of question marks coming up. The Falcons are on the clock next, and we'll see what they decide to do at number 8 in the 2022 draft.
The Atlanta Falcons select Drake London.
Whoa! Mr. USC gets his wish. Drake London jumps all the Ohio State receivers and goes to Atlanta. What are your thoughts about this one?
I think Atlanta had to take a wide receiver here, especially with Ridley being suspended next year. I think they had to, no matter what the receiver is. Now, being Drake London, I am very surprised. I didn't think he'd be the first wide receiver off the board.
I didn't
Drake
either.
now wins $200,000 after he put money on for Drake London to be the number 1 wide receiver taken. So congrats to Drake. But yeah, this is a great pick. I really do think it is. Drake London, I've seen him play often as a USC fan. He is amazing at contested balls and going up and getting it. And, I think he's a surefire guy with that. My only issue is the injury. He didn't run the 40. I think his time might be slow. That's the only thing I'll say about him. Everything else, I think Drake London is going to be a great wide receiver.
I agree with you. He's 6'4", 220. He's compared to maybe a T. Higgins on Cincinnati. That's what they have him as on CBS. Ton of yard after the catch skills. He's going to make all the tough catches. I know they're also saying on ESPN Vincent Jackson is a comparison as well. Tough in traffic catches, not going to blow you away with the speed, but with power and contact, this dude's going to make a lot of contested catches, and he might be the most talented receiver in this class. Real quick, one note: he was Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. He led the Pac-12 with 88 receptions and 1,084 yards in only 8 games receiving. So this is a good pick for Atlanta.
You just said only 8 games, and he put up those numbers. Very impressive. The former basketball player really can't do it all. To me, I've heard some people say that he's more of an Ed McCaffrey at catching the ball. I think I see that because he's good at going over the middle and getting contested catches. I think it's great.
Yeah, good pick for Atlanta. Again, no quarterback for Carolina or Atlanta, but the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock at 9. We'll see what they do next.
Charles Cross.
You know what? My podcast partner today is on the freaking money, dude. He said Seahawks need offensive line. What do? They do? They go get Charles Cross, the tackle from Mississippi State. They definitely need some offensive line help. Now, quarterback, we don't know what they're going to do. By the way, this is the pick that was traded from Denver in the Russell Wilson trade. So this is why Seattle's picking at number 9 here. So the Seattle Seahawks go with Charles Cross from Mississippi State, 6'5", 307. His pro comparisons, Brian Bulaga, who's been a long-time O-lineman, long time in Green Bay. He was 2021 All-SEC first team last year, only allowed 3 sacks in 682 pass blocking attempts. What are your thoughts on this pick for the Seattle Seahawks?
I think if you're Russell Wilson right now, what are you thinking at home? You finally get offensive line help. I think it's a great pick by the Seahawks. I really do think it is. They needed help in the offensive line for a while. Dwayne Brown, I think, left in free agency, I believe. They had to do something. And I think they're gonna play more old school football now with Russell Wilson. I think they're gonna run between the tackles, more run game first. So I think it's a great pick by them.
Now, do you think Drew Lock is a long-term quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks?
Absolutely not. I've seen him play many of times in Denver. This guy is Kirk Cousins on steroids.
Oh, in a bad way.
Yes. He's the guy in the second half that'll put up numbers because his team's down and he'll fit in. But he'll make dumb throws in the first half. He makes a lot of gambles. I do not. I am not a believer in Locke at all.
I'm with you on that. And maybe the Seattle's thinking they'll get a quarterback later, or this just isn't the year for them to get a quarterback.
In my personal opinion, I think Baker works for them perfectly. This is where I think Baker should land. It's a guy they can take a chance on, but that's just me.
I'm not a believer in Baker, but if you need a patch guy and you don't have to pay him long term, maybe Baker is that guy.
I agree. I'm the same way, but he was the number 1 pick. Someone saw something in him, but yes, I agree. I'm not a believer in Baker too. A lot of it's his attitude. Just the way he
can Baker deliver the ball downfield to some of these receivers, though. I don't know if he can.
I agree, especially with DK. And DK's that deep threat. I don't think Baker's a great deep guy.
And Lockett's a deep threat also.
True, but Lockett runs great routes. Lockett's a great route runner.
Look what happened to Odell Beckham Jr. when he left Cleveland and went to the Rams.
Great point. So, yeah, I agree with you on Baker, but I think he has one more chance he'll take. And I think
that's fair enough.
Seattle's the one team to do it.
Okay, fair enough. Good pick by the Seahawks. They're going to rebuild from the interior, and the Jets are back on the clock at number 10. We'll see what they do with this pick.
Garrett Wilson, wide receiver.
Garrett Wilson, receiver from Ohio State, goes here. The Jets take a receiver. I mean, they desperately need one. The quarterback's name is Wilson, and now they have a Wilson at receiver. Zach to Garrett. We'll see how good of a combo this is. They did need receiver help. You probably don't think this is the best pick right now. I'll give you some comps on Garrett Wilson. 6 foot, 183. His comp, people say, according to CBS, is Chad Ochocinco. I don't know if he'll be that great, but he's supposedly the best receiver in this draft. I know Drake London already went earlier. 2021 All Big Ten second team. He had 70 catches, 12 touchdowns last year. Pretty good. 2020 All Big Ten first team. So with even less numbers the 2 years ago. So last year he made a huge impact. Smaller size, but he fits the modern day NFL. You can maybe think of him as like a Tyreek Hill, possibly. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on Garrett Wilson?
I think this is the typical Jets. I don't think this is the right pick for him. I don't think Wilson's going to fit him. I think they need to get an established wide receiver that's already seasoned and groomed rather than a guy that they're going to groom with Wilson. I see doing it, but they're going to take another year off or 3 years for the Jets. You never know. I think right here they should have gone an edge rusher, but they ended up going Wilson. Wilson could be the right pick, but Wilson also, to me, I think Jameson Williams, don't say Crowder, is a better wide receiver in my opinion. But the Jets need a guy that's ready to play. He's not yet. So I do see why they did this, but this is, to me, is your typical Jets pick.
They probably could have gotten a receiver a little bit later. They didn't need to do this now, but I think they're so desperate for a wide receiver that if you see a good one you like, you got to go get them. So I understand the Jets doing that there.
Yep, I agree.
All right, well, the Washington Commanders are on the clock. No longer the Washington football team. The Washington Commanders on the clock. We'll see what they do with number 11. Saints go receiver. I actually think this is what they should have done. I told you pre-draft, I finally got one right. They needed a receiver. And with back-to-back Ohio State receivers going off the board, Olave was next in line. We already saw Drake London, and we saw Garrett Wilson. Now we're going to see Olave come off the board from Ohio State. The Saints are in desperate need of a wide receiver. Who knows what the future is of Michael Thomas there? I actually think this is a good move for the Saints. What do you think?
I think it's a great move. I think you're 100% right. You called it. I'm surprised, actually. But
Yeah.
I think does this end the Michael Thomas era in New Orleans? Does it end it?
It might. I mean, Olave's comparisons are Chris Godwin, who's one of the best receivers in the league. He's only 6 feet, 187, a little bit smaller. He's the all-time Ohio State receiving touchdowns leader with 35 in his career. 2-time All Big Ten first team last year, 2 years ago and last year. Dude's a stud. So I don't mind this pick at all. I think it's a good pick for the Saints. Jameis Winston's going to be there as their quarterback. There's really no reason to trade up to get one if they're going to do this. They wanted to get a receiver, and I think they made the right move.
I think so, too, especially with the Saints. This guy's a great route runner. I've seen him play. He's torched my Gophers many a time, so
Yeah.
I know what this guy's capable of. I think it's a good pick, actually.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so the Lions have just traded up with the Vikings. We'll see what the Detroit Lions do at number 12 with their second pick in the first round.
The 12th pick, the 42 NFL draft. The Detroit Lions select Jameson Williams.
I called it. So the Detroit Lions traded up with Minnesota to take their pick at number 12. And I got two in a row here. Finally, you've been dominating, but I finally got two in a row. The Lions desperately need a wide receiver. So what do? They go get Jameson Williams, who was a stud at Alabama. I mean, I think he might be the best receiver in the draft. He did get banged up last year at the torn ACL, but all signs point to him coming back sooner than expected. What are your thoughts on the Lions going receiver here?
The Lions actually made a great pick. I got to say
They made a great pick?
Yes, they made a great pick here, Jameson Williams. Also, long-term, him and St. Brown are going to be – that 1-2 is going to be good. Now the biggest issues for the Lions is can they find a quarterback, but they did very well here. Jameson Williams, I think if he doesn't get hurt in that last game, he's a surefire top 10 pick, even possibly a top 5 pick.
I agree with you. 6'2", 180. I mean, he's compared to Jerry Jeudy. And, he's led SEC in receiving yards in 2021, 1572. He had 15 receiving touchdowns, led the country in 30-plus yard touchdowns with 11. Now, that could be a product of Alabama's offense, and there's wide-open receivers in that offense. Who knows? But 11 30-plus yard touchdowns, that's breakaway speed, don't you think?
Yes, I completely agree. One little tidbit here. It's crazy to think that Olave, Wilson, and Crowder were in the same room.
Jameson Williams
2 years ago in Ohio State. He transferred to Alabama to get some playing time. But, no, I think it's a great pick.
I agree with you. I think it's a good job by the Lions. I mean, they've done well so far. So we'll see what the future holds here for the Detroit Lions. But so far, they got Hutchinson and they got Jameson Williams. Pretty good draft for the Lions. Maybe it's going to fight with best draft so far with the New York Giants, but we both think the Giants have had the best draft so far with their 2 picks. The Eagles are now on the clock at 13 as of right now, but there's a lot of action going on in the draft. So we'll come back with the Eagles pick at 13. Jordan Davis goes to the Eagles at number 13, the D tackle. Some would argue he is the most athletic player on that Georgia defense, even outside of Trayvon Walker and Nakobe Dean. But they decide to go with Jordan Davis, the D lineman. He's 6'6", 341. Big dude from Charlotte, North Carolina. His comp is Brandon Williams in the league. He's a classic oversized nose tackle who will make defensive tackles look small in the field. Mammoth individual, like I said, 6'6", 341. He won the Chuck Bednarik Award for the best defensive player in 2021 and the John Outland Trophy for the best interior lineman in 2021. He's not going to be the quickest guy in the field at 341, but this is a big D lineman that the Eagles probably desperately need with Fletcher Cox.
My question about this guy, his numbers are amazing, especially the combine. I mean, he for that size to move that well is impressive. Why did he fall this far? That's my only thing I don't get. I don't understand it.
Could be just for need in general, just what teams need what. But I guess the Eagles, they gave up a ton of yards on defense last year. They give up a ton of yards on defense, right? The Cowboys just blew them out both times they played them. They need help on the line to get to the quarterback. So actually, not a bad pick for the Eagles.
The Eagles are doing very well in the last 2-3 drafts. They're piling up draft picks. They're making good picks. The only thing they have a problem at quarterback, Jalen Hurts is not very accurate.
I agree. Jalen Hurts might be not the long-term solution here, but they led the league in rushing as a team last year, I believe, with Jalen Hurts at the helm. So we know they can run the ball. But him passing downfield with little Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor, who knows what's going on there. They could have gone receiver, but they're going to go on defense. Not a bad pick, I don't think.
I think it's a safe pick. I think it's a great pick by the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree. We'll come back with the Ravens at number 14. Baltimore will be picking next, and their pick is in. We'll have it for you next. Kind of what we thought here. Kyle Hamilton's just been floating out there, sitting in the green room. Felt bad for the kid, but he maybe fell to the right situation. We know the Ravens are always tough on defense. They've needed some back-end help recently. Kyle Hamilton, consensus number 1 safety arguably in this class from Notre Dame. Superior athlete. We kind of been waiting him to come off the board. But I think this is a good pick by the Baltimore Ravens. What are your thoughts on Kyle Hamilton?
I think it's a great pick by Baltimore. The only reason he fell this far is because his 40 was slow. If you watch the game film, this guy is fast. He's not slow when it says. He's a ball hawk. He knows where the ball is. This guy's the real deal. I can't believe he fell this far.
Yeah, and look, and the funny thing is CBS compared him to Ed Reed, like it or not, but this guy's got great closing speed for a safety. He plays better in pads, as you're kind of trying to say, right? From Atlanta, but he ends up in Baltimore. 6'4", 220. He was a consensus All-American despite missing the last 6 games of the season. Injury concerns could be a problem there. He did have 140 career tackles, 8 interceptions in 31 games. Like Andrew said, some teams have concerns about the slow 40, but the tape tells a different story. So I think he's one of the most athletic safeties in this draft. This is a good pick, typical pick for the Ravens, going defense early. So I think so. Anything else on Hamilton?
Yeah, I think Freeman said this morning, the Notre Dame coach, former defensive coordinator, said he's like a Swiss Army knife, where he can put them all over the field. That's the perfect fit for the Ravens. That's why the Ravens see guys like that. Ravens know this. I think this is probably the most perfect spot for him to land.
But I would argue the Ravens need to pick up a receiver early in their next pick, because outside of Hollywood Brown, and Mark Andrews. Who else is Lamar Jackson throwing to?
They used a first-round pick last year to Rashard Bateman. I mean, is it time to give up on him already? That's probably not the best
Well,
thing.
clearly.
He did not have a great year last year. He did start slow. He was hurt, but I don't think it's yet. They should get a wide receiver and panic yet.
Right. I agree. The Texans are on the clock now at 15. We'll see what they do with their next pick.
The 2022 NFL Draft. The Houston Texans select Kenyon Green, guard, Texas A&M.
Texans are choosing not to go with a quarterback. They go with Kenyon Green from A&M. He's a guard. You know, Davis Mills is going to be the quarterback there, and they're trying to build up the line. Again, I think a lot of these teams are seeing maybe this isn't the year to get a quarterback. You don't need to get desperate and pick someone that you're really not sure about. So I think they go Kenyon Green here, Texas A&M. He's 6'4", 323. He's a big dude. 2021 AP All-America first team. Only 2 sacks allowed on 385 pass blocking snaps. Excelled at tackle in college. Could move to inside. This is according to CBS. Long arms, athletic lower half. You know, sometimes, you know, can get caught holding because he's probably a little bit slower at 323. But what are your thoughts on an O-line pick here for the Houston Texans?
This is the first interior O-line pick. I think this is a reach for it, to be honest with you. Usually those guys go late teens or early 20s at earliest. I mean, at the same time, if you know this is the guy, though, I do think it's a safe pick. But it might have been a reach. You never know the Texans, but I think it's a good pick.
I'm actually applauding these teams for not reaching on average quarterbacks because none of these dudes in any other draft would go number 1 through 5, I don't think, right? So why chase a quarterback that isn't going to be the guy? So.
Exactly. And he's basically going back home. He went to A&M. He's playing for the Texans. So I think that's another thing, too. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, okay.
Safe pick.
I agree. The Washington Commanders, no longer the football team, are next, and they will have number 16 coming up.
The 2022 NFL Draft. Washington Commanders select Jahan Dotson,
Penn State.
receiver, Penn State.
Wow. So the next receiver off the board to the Washington Commanders is Jahan Dotson, the receiver from Penn State. Supposedly a speedster. This is, again, another surprise. I guess it's not a surprise at this point in the draft, but I didn't think he would be the next one off the board. But, I mean, the Commanders, you know, outside of Terry McLaurin, they really don't have much out there. So I think this is actually a pretty decent pick getting Jahan Dotson.
These wide receivers are flying off the board, man.
They are flying off the board.
I can't believe it. I mean,
we had heard that there were going to be a number of receivers picked in this first round.
but I didn't think he would be picked in the mid-teens. And the biggest question for the Commanders is who's going to throw these guys the ball? I don't trust Carson Wentz. I just don't. And Heinicke, I actually think Heinicke's better than him. But
Heineke's actually a pretty decent quarterback, and Carson Wentz is just not the same what he used to be in that MVP year. He's clearly not the same. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be a quarterback competition in camp. And either whether it's Heinicke or Wentz, they're going to need some weapons to throw to. So outside of McLaurin, they need something, and maybe Jahan Dotson's that guy.
yeah, I think it's a good pick. I guess you can say with that. It's the main thing is what the quarterback does. As long as they get good quarterback play, that's a great pick.
I agree. So they're going to get some speed on the outside. Jahan Dotson goes first round, number 16 overall to the Washington Commanders. The Chargers are now on the clock at number 17, and we will come back with their pick.
17th pick
Trevor Penning?
in the 2022 NFL Draft.
I think it's got to be.
Los Angeles Chargers select Zion Johnson, guard.
Okay.
So the Chargers are going to get some offensive line help to help Justin Herbert. They go with Zion Johnson, the guard from Boston College. I mean, it can't hurt to get him. You know, he's 6'3", 312. He's 2021 All-American first team. He's first team All-ACC. Some of his weakness says he's good, not great athlete when blocking on the move, when having when having to deal with the pass rush counter. So what are your thoughts on the Chargers going, whether you know about him a lot or not, whether they go with an offensive lineman here?
I'm surprised. I thought they'd go tackle, but I see why they do this. Last year, Slater, the tackle they took, was an all-pro. He was absolutely amazing. I think they wanted to go safe, sure up the offensive line. I think it's a good pick. I mean, I really do. To me, I thought he was the number one interior offensive lineman over the guy that from Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, anything to help Justin Herbert stay upright is a good thing. So not a bad pick. They don't really need help on offense. They have all the receivers and running back help they really need. So I think this is a good pick for the Chargers and keep Justin Herbert healthy. So the Titans are up next. They just traded up to get their pick at number 18, so we'll see who they go with next.
My one question with the Chargers is how much longer are they going to use Keenan Allen? That's the biggest thing. They just re-signed Mike Williams. I think there's a wide receiver need still the Chargers, though.
Yeah, they could probably get one in their next pick. But so far, not a bad move for the Chargers. So we had another trade. The Tennessee Titans are trading wide receiver A.J. Brown to the Eagles for the number 18 pick and a third-round pick as well. So the Eagles get the receiver that they didn't draft in the draft. Good move by the Eagles, don't you think?
I completely agree. I mean, especially to pair him with Smith, I think they complement each other very well. Smith's very fast. A.J. Brown is absolutely a freak. If you watch him, he's a stud.
I'm surprised the Titans are giving up on A.J. Brown, to be honest with you. Because what do they really have now?
Exactly. Who's the wide receiver? And Julio's gone, obviously.
They
I don't
got
know anyone else on their team. And Tannehill is already a below-average quarterback, in my opinion.
I know that team is built on Derrick Henry, but now you don't have any threats, really.
No, I agree. And then the one thing is they got to give her Jalen Hurts. They have two wide receivers now. I'm sorry. Bring in a real quarterback. Now wide receivers. You have to.
Now he better have people to throw to. I mean, there's no excuses now for Jalen Hurts.
Nope, not at all.
2022 NFL Draft. Tennessee Titans select Trayvon Burks. Yep. Wide receiver.
Well, the Tennessee Titans, who just traded away A.J. Brown, takes a wide receiver from Arkansas, Trayvon Burks. Not a lot of information on this guy, but so they traded away their best receiver for essentially a rookie wide receiver from Arkansas. What are your thoughts on this move? A.J. Brown will be a free agent after this year, and they clearly don't want to pay with the crazy market of wide receivers now. So what are your thoughts on them going receiver here?
You just said it. They just traded an established wide receiver that has made an impact, a very good wide receiver at that, for a rookie wide receiver. I don't like this pick at all.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't. I'm kind of
so apparently he's got top-end speed, and, I mean, he's probably a good player, but in the middle of the first round, you get rid of your best player outside of Derrick Henry. They're comparing him to Deebo Samuel, but he's a different beast. I don't know if you can really say that yet. But interesting move by the Titans, to say the least.
Yeah, I really am surprised by that.
Yeah.
The only thing I see in him is the speed. Outside of that, I mean, I think this guy is pretty raw for a wide receiver. I think so.
I agree. The Saints are on the clock again at number 19. We'll see what they do next. Also, the Cardinals did get Marquise Brown, a.k.a. Hollywood Brown. So we'll see what the Saints decide to do at number 19.
2022 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select Trevor Penning, tackle, Northern Iowa.
So the Saints they went receiver in their last pick. They go with an offensive tackle now from Northern Iowa, Trevor Penning. I think this is a good pick. Clearly, look, they're not going quarterback. They got Jameis Winston. They need to protect him now and keep him upright. I think this is actually a good pick. I don't mind this at all for them. What are your thoughts on this pick for the Saints?
They had to replace Armstead, who signed with the Dolphins. I think it's a great pick. The only issue I have with this guy is he's coming from a small school. He played in Northern Iowa. I mean, he's not playing against these big guys.
However, he is 6'7", 321. That's a big boy.
I'm with you, but how much is he out-athlete? Use his size against some of the guys he played against. That's the only thing I'm skeptical of. But otherwise, the tape and all that stuff, it looks good.
I will say, from what CBS is the source is saying, his first start against Power 5 school Iowa State at the beginning of the year was rough. Not a supreme athlete with high-level lateral agility, but I mean, he is a large physical blocker that is NFL size. So can he be taught to be a little bit better in the trenches? Probably. He's the only offensive lineman to be selected as a Peyton Award finalist, and he was 2021 FCS All-America first team. It's not nothing, but again, it is Northern Iowa. You know, does it matter as much that he's in the trenches in a small conference versus a skill player in a small conference? Does that matter, do you think? Or he's just not facing tough D linemen?
To me, yes, because these D linemen he's facing are undersized.
Right.
That would be the biggest thing. So, yes.
So he's going to be facing NFL bodies now. Yep. Like we said, 6'7", 320 is no joke. You can't teach that. So we'll see if he can hang in the league. But I actually don't mind this pick for the Saints. They're trying to rebuild the roster. Sean Payton's taking a year off. They need to protect whatever quarterback they're going to have. So I don't mind this at all.
I agree.
And we'll come back with the Steelers. This is a kind of a controversial pick here. We'll see what they do, whether they go quarterback or not. At number 20 in the draft, we'll come back from Las Vegas live at the NFL Draft right after this.
With the 20th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kenny Pickett.
They actually did it. Okay, let me say this. Kenny Pickett is the Pittsburgh quarterback. The last time there was a Pittsburgh quarterback that the Steelers didn't take from Pitt was Dan Marino. Could this be the next Dan Marino? What are your thoughts on this? I told you they might go quarterback here, and they don't go Malik Willis. They go Kenny Pickett. Apparently, he's got small hands. But what are your thoughts on this pick right here?
I thought they were going to go Willis. I thought that Willis was going to be a developmental guy, sit out a year. I think Pickett might come in and be able to start with Trubisky. I mean, I think midway by the year, Pickett's going to be the guy. The hands thing is old, though. People are overrating that. I don't know why that's even a thing.
Let me say this. At 6'3", almost 220, he did have, and Andrew and I talked about this pre-show, he did have 42 passing touchdowns last year. He's played a lot of football, 42 touchdowns, 7 picks, 67% completion percentage last year, over 4,300 yards passing. He was the all-time leader now in Pitt passing yards and passing touchdowns. 12,000 yards, 81 passing touchdowns in his time at Pitt. He's, like I said, he's seen a lot of snaps in his day. Do you think he's going to be okay or I guess, formidable at the next level?
You know what? It's too early to tell. I'm honestly I don't know
that's
what to
fair.
think of him. I really don't. There's just I think he had a lot of time in the pocket. He had a lot of, and they ran a lot of deep stuff. So, but the one thing with him, he also took a lot of chances. People don't realize that. That's my only thing. I think he's an unfinished product, in my opinion.
He might be a dude at the – I don't know. No one really knows. This is a weak quarterback draft, but the Steelers are in desperate need. Mitch Trubisky is not the long-term answer. Neither is Mason Rudolph. None of these guys. So they go Kenny Pickett, the hometown kid. You know, you don't usually see this. Usually the hometown team doesn't take the hometown kid in football, at least. But we saw it with Detroit, Aiden Hutchinson staying home with the Lions coming from Michigan. Maybe Kenny Pickett's the answer long-term. They obviously believe in something with Kenny Pickett, so we'll see how he does for the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does, and he's at least going to one of the best organizations in football.
Right. I agree. Now it's time for the Patriots to have a pick, and they just looks like they traded it to Kansas City. We'll see what the Chiefs – this is a very big draft for the Chiefs after losing all the talent that they have, including Tyreek Hill and Tyrann Mathieu. We'll see what the Chiefs do at 21.
The Kansas City Chiefs. With the 21st pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Trent McDuffie, defensive back, Washington.
So the Chiefs trade up with to take the Patriots pick. They take Trent McDuffie, the corner from Washington. This is one of your favorite players in the draft, so I'll let you have the floor. What are your thoughts on McDuffie going to the Chiefs?
I think he's the guy that can play all over the place. That's the biggest thing. I think he might even end up as a safety. He probably won't, but he can play slot. He can play outside. But my only issue with him, he's a little undersized, but he's very good at using his arms and getting leverage to make up for that.
McDuffie goes 5'11", 193. He is from Westminster, California, so you got to show him some love for that. He's a SoCal kid. He's a SoCal kid, right? All Pac-12 first team, which is a huge accomplishment. However, the Pac-12 sucks, so maybe it's not a huge accomplishment. But did not allow a passing touchdown on 287 coverage snaps. There's got to be something there, right? I mean, that's pretty impressive. It's, you know, according to CBS, his pro comparisons, Jair Alexander, he's a zone-heavy quarterback with high-level, quick, and good closing speed on the football. He's aggressive, defeating blocks. Some of his weaknesses are athletic profile is very good but not elite. Minimal ball production relative to how much football he played in college. So, you know, maybe not a ball hawk, but maybe good in coverage. And, you know, I don't know. Oh, there you go. Live from Dana Point, California. Not a bad place to be. That's pretty cool. That's Orange County. So if you're listening, that's where I'm from. So shout out to Orange County. Let's go. So McDuffie goes to the Chiefs. They needed a corner. So happy to see Orange County get some press in the NFL draft. We will come back with the very highly anticipated Green Bay Packers pick coming up next.
Watson. 2022 NFL Draft. The Green Bay Packers select Trayvon Walker.
Oh.
Georgia.
So Packers go defense. They again don't draft a receiver yet in the first round. They go Quay Walker, the linebacker from Georgia. Again, you can't really go wrong with any of the front seven defensive players from Georgia. 6'3 3/4, 241. I mean, this guy, he's tough as hell, man. I don't mind this pick for them. They need some defensive help, but he's tough in the trenches, man. I like this kid, Quay Walker. What are your thoughts?
My question to you is, do you think he was picked in front of Dean because of his size? Is that what it is? Because realistically, a lot of people had Dean picked higher, but Dean's size isn't up there.
I agree.
Smaller. And Dean's a ball hawk.
Dean is a ball hawk, but this guy's 6'3.5" plus. So Dean's 5'11", same defensive.
Him and Campbell are going to be scary, though, running in that linebacker area.
I mean, this is a need for the Packers. I would have loved to see them go receiver at some point here. Maybe with their second pick in the first round, they go receiver.
Why did they not trade for any of the wide receivers today either? That's what's I don't get what the Packers are doing. As a Viking fan, I'm happy by it.
Once again, Aaron Rodgers has no help at all. They traded away the best player on the team, Devontae Adams, and he's got no help again except for Aaron Jones.
And are they going to draft a wide receiver 28? I mean, they're going to have to reach somebody, especially if Watson goes. I really am baffled by this.
Thank you. I agree. Yeah. So I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, as most of you may know. So I don't understand why you wouldn't. I'm not a Packer fan, but I'm a Rodgers guy. Why aren't you going to give him some weapons to work with? I don't get that. But as a Vikings fan, you're pretty happy.
I am. But at the same time, that defense is mean. And getting another linebacker there, I see why they did it. But why not wait till 28 and then maybe you said this earlier. Why not take Dean maybe if he's not there? And if Walker's still there, take him there.
They could have got either of those guys at 28.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see what happens next. The Ravens have traded their pick to the Buffalo Bills, who have jumped up to 23. So obviously they got their eye on somebody. So we'll see what happens with Buffalo when they come back with their first pick of the first round.
Traded the 23rd pick to the Buffalo Bills. The 23rd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Buffalo Bills select Garrett Wilson, defensive back, Florida.
Well, the Bills obviously think they needed back-end help. Their defense is already good. You know, I don't know why they're going for Garrett Wilson here, the cornerback from Florida. He was projected to go a lot higher in the draft from what I saw. But what are your thoughts on the Bills going for another defensive player?
Him and White could be scary, though. If this guy could be something, they could be very scary. Elam's brother kind of fanned out. He got drafted by the Ravens maybe 10 years ago in a first-round pick and fanned out quick. That's the only issue I kind of have with them. And also, Florida hasn't been very good. I mean, I don't get it, but, I mean, he's a bigger guy. I see what they're trying to do with Buffalo is they're trying to really stick the dagger to some of these teams, especially in the AFC East with these two cornerbacks, with White and him.
So he didn't win any awards this past year. He was 2020 All-SEC second team, and he led the SEC with passes defended in 2020. No awards or no list, for him to be on, or no, award teams for him to be on in 2021. 6'2", 191. As far as the pluses go from CBS Sports, they say long, physical corner who is quick for his size, can flip his hips. They love that combine talk. Get out of his breaks. Does a good job of not letting wide receivers get across his face. Also shows good recoverability. So, I mean, it's a good pick. I think he was projected to go a little bit higher. But again, I don't know if Buffalo really needed defensive help right now. I think they need more offensive help. And if there was any team that was going to draft a running back, I would have thought it may have been Buffalo. Devin Singletary is not the answer for their problems.
Singletary played very well
at the end of the year.
At the end of the year. And Zach Moss, I mean, is he a bust? What would you say? I think it's a fumbling issue, too.
They could have gotten one of the better running backs in this draft, in my opinion.
Maybe they do in the second or third round. Maybe Walker's still there. Maybe Dalvin Cook's brother's still there. You never know.
Breece Hall, possibly.
Yep. Yeah. I think he'll be gone by then, but you never know.
Okay, well, we'll see. The Dallas Cowboys, everyone's America's favorite team, are on the clock at number 24. We'll see what they do with their next pick coming up live from Las Vegas.
The 21st pick, the 2022 NFL Draft. The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Smith, tackle, Tulsa.
So the Cowboys go offensive line. I mean, Tyron Smith is always hurt, so maybe they go with Tyler Smith to see if they can, keep someone healthy on the line. What are your thoughts about Cowboys going O-line here?
Well played on your part. I think I get it why the Cowboys did it. I mean, he's never healthy. Also, if he's healthy, you have two very, very formidable tackles. And Zeke isn't what he used to be. You need a good offensive line to put around him. And Dak is Dak. I mean, I don't think he's the greatest quarterback. I think he's an above-average quarterback. But
now they traded away Amari Cooper, so they do need. I mean, it's just going to be CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Cedric Wilson. Is that enough on the outside, in your opinion?
Yes, it is. I think Gallup's the real deal. I'm a believer in CeeDee Lamb. What do you think about him?
I like CeeDee Lamb a lot, but he kind of disappears sometimes. Now, whether that's his fault or Dak's, I don't know, or the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, I don't know. It's probably a good move for them to go tackle. They always were banged up at tackle. I don't mind this move for the Cowboys.
No, I think it's a great move, and it's a safe move, I think.
Right. That's okay. Yeah. The Baltimore Ravens are back on the clock at 25, so they're going to get multiple first-round picks here. A lot of teams are jumping in to get multiple first-round picks, and the Ravens are next on the clock at 25. We'll see what they do coming up next.
Ravens select Tyler Center, Iowa.
I think so. The Ravens took Tyler Lindenbaum, who even though he got drafted late in the first, a lot of people think the center from Iowa that he is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. What are your thoughts on Lindenbaum from Iowa?
I absolutely love this guy. I mean, I know people don't like taking centers early. It's backfired in the Vikings with Bradbury, but this guy can absolutely play. He's very good. He can move. I mean, I'm very impressed with him. And he's strong. Some of the centers sometimes lack the strength. He has the strength. He is good. And he's played against very good competition in the Big Ten. One thing the Big Ten does produce, I know you're not a Big Ten guy, is guys in the trenches and big boys. And that's where he's experienced.
Iowa, too. They produce the big boys.
Exactly. Iowa knows well. Those farm boys.
So at 6'2", 300, basically, and if Lamar Jackson can stay in the pocket, he will help protect Lamar Jackson and keep him from getting hurt in the backfield. He got awarded the Dave Remington Award, which is the best center in the league. First team All-America, 1 sack allowed last year in 2021 as him as the primary offensive guard there. Pretty crazy. He's going to be – I think he might be a perennial Pro Bowler in this league. So this is actually a great pick, in my opinion, by the Baltimore Ravens.
I think it's one of the best picks. The Ravens have done very well with guys that fit their needs, with Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton. I think the Ravens, they've moved in the top 3 in the draft so far.
They've had a great draft.
The Ravens know how to mold guys, too. I mean, I appreciate the Ravens system, too.
I agree. The Ravens have had a good draft so far. Jets are coming up at 26 next.
Great.
And we'll see what the Jets do next at 26.
With the 26th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Jermaine Johnson, linebacker, Florida State.
So we were waiting for the Jermaine Johnson the second to get picked. He's the DN from Florida State. He's definitely got the craziest suit at the draft, that's for sure. He was projected, top 12?
Yep.
And he ends up going at 26 to the Jets. Maybe a sneaky move here. We know Robert Saleh, the head coach, former defensive coordinator for the Niners, is a defensive guy. What are your thoughts on getting an edge rusher from Florida State for the Jets?
I like it. I think the Eden Prairie, Minnesota kid will do well for the Jets. It's a position of need, especially with Saleh. I think they definitely needed an edge guy. I thought they might go Thibodeau, but they didn't. But I think they did it right.
Yeah, I think at 6'5", 254, I mean, this is a big dude here. So they're going to get a guy from Florida State that's ACC Defensive Player of the Year. I can't believe this guy actually fell as far as he did, honestly. With those kind of accolades, he led the ACC in tackles for a loss and sacks with 12. This is a steal, maybe a steal for the Jets. So far, so good for the New York Jets in this draft.
I agree. This is one of the better picks here. I just think they've done well with this pick.
Thank you for your insight.
I don't know why I lost my train of thought there.
That's all right.
27th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah.
So another guy that we've been actually eyeing for a while, Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. We've been waiting for this pick. He's been hanging out in the back of the green room waiting to get picked. But this guy's one of the best Pac-12 players in the conference. I'm going to look up his numbers. I'll throw it to Andrew while I'm doing so. But what are your thoughts? A guy you saw in the Pac-12 a lot.
He was absolutely amazing. He was the catalyst for this Utah defense that was very outside the Ohio State game was very, very good this year. I think it's a great pick. I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL without a doubt. I mean, he could do it all. I think he could rush. He could play inside. I think he's a very good player.
I agree with you. 6'3", 237. He got 2021 Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, and he had 22 tackles for a loss, second most behind Will Anderson Jr. last year in 2021. Strengths, he does a great job using his hands in order to shed blocks, has shown improvement in pass coverage, good enough speed, allowing him to play sideline to sideline. That's according to CBS Sports. They also say still a work in progress in coverage, has room for improvement, identifying gap responsibilities, but he's going to be, he's going to be a tough linebacker, and he's going to be a productive player for the Jets, I believe. Or for the Jaguars, excuse me.
No, I agree. I think it's a great pick by the Jaguars. I think Jaguars are going young, and I think they're heading in the right direction. It's just tough with Doug Peterson being there. I don't know if I trust Doug Peterson with the Jags.
And the front office, we're not sure who's really calling the shots.
I mean, the Urban Meyer thing was just a complete, utter disaster.
I agree.
But on paper, the Jags are making some moves. I don't like what they did with Christian Kirk. They overpaid for him. Good player, but not a number one with that money. I don't like that.
I agree with that. Speaking of wide receivers, let's see if the Packers actually do something right here and take a receiver in the first round. I think they're trying to, for some reason, punish Aaron Rodgers by not drafting offensive talent. I don't get it, but the Packers are at 28. We'll see what they do next.
Man, we're so proud of you. With the 28th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle, Georgia.
Well, the Green Bay Packers obviously feel like their defense is the issue because they go with a defensive tackle from Georgia, Devontae Wyatt. Like I mentioned earlier, not a bad thing to get a Georgia defensive player, but again, I know they lost to Zendarius Smith, and maybe they're filling a hole there. But why aren't they drafting offensive players? Do you understand this one?
I really don't get it. And their defense last year was a very good defense. The defense gave up, 3 points, I think, in the game that Rodgers lost? I mean, their defense is good. I really don't get this anymore, the Packers are doing.
They refuse to draft a receiver in the first round. Refuse.
I really am bewildered by this.
You lose Devontae Adams, and you don't replace him with anyone. Unless they got something for Deebo Samuel, they got a trade in the works. Doesn't sound like it. The Packers don't make moves like that.
And
So,
all the trades that went down today for what A.J. Brown got traded. Hollywood Brown got traded. All these wide receivers that got traded. Where are the Packers? What are they doing?
I honestly don't understand this at all. I really don't get this pick at all. Again, probably a great player from, like I said, any Georgia defensive player is usually good, especially coming off the national championship. But they don't need that, I don't think.
I don't think so either, but their front seven is going to be scary.
Yeah,
I do have to say that. But, I mean,
But Rodgers needs to trust receivers, and if he's not trusting receivers, man, I don't know. In my opinion, disappointing pick for them. Probably a good player, but
I think their front seven's good, but I just don't get what they're not doing in offense. I mean,
I don't either.
They traded for a wide receiver today, and they made this pick. I understand completely. But the fact that they still have that glaring need, and they let Valdez-Scantling go, too? I mean, who's the other wide receiver there? Lazard?
yeah,
They have an issue on hand. I honestly don't get it.
I don't get it. We're going to think about this during the break here, but the Patriots are up next at number 29. We'll see if they actually keep this pick and draft somebody or trade back. But as of right now, the Patriots are on the clock at 29. We'll be back after this. So the Patriots take an unknown guard from Chattanooga, Cole Strange. Obviously, we don't have a lot of information on him. We didn't watch Chattanooga football this year. So Patriots, obviously, they got Mac Jones, so they're going to try to protect him. Maybe it is a need for them. Belichick loves defensive players. So for them to go guard in the first round, maybe they need to have some offensive line help.
Just a strange pick. I don't get it. I really.
The guy's name is Cole Strange.
Oh, that was pun intended.
Nice.
I don't get it. What the Patriots are doing with a guy like this. I thought they go defense. They lost some defensive guys. They lost Jackson. Jackson too, right?
I don't know. Yeah. J.C. Jackson.
Yeah. Why did they not go corner? Why did they not go? The defense is aging. I thought for sure they go defense. I am actually surprised, but at the same time, do I ever doubt Belichick? Not really.
He's great at drafting defensive players.
True.
Offensively, not the best.
Very true.
So I don't know. Maybe they thought that Mac Jones needed a protection.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense if the guy pans out, but still, I think there was more need for the Patriots than getting a guard.
ESPN saying 93% chance of this guy being available at 54 entering the night. And so they way overdrafted him, according to ESPN. But Belichick knows more than all these idiots at ESPN, so who knows? No one knows anything. So we're going to wait for the next pick, which is the Kansas City Chiefs at number 30 in the first round.
Kansas City Chiefs select George Karlaftis, defensive end, Purdue.
So the Kansas City Chiefs select a guy that was projected to go mid-first. He ends up falling to the end of the first. George Karlaftis from Purdue. He's the edge rusher, 6'4", 266. His player comparisons, Ryan Kerrigan, first team All Big Ten with 50 pressures, third in the Big Ten. And then he had a career 14 and a half sacks, 29 tackles for a loss, 106 pressures in 27 games. It said, according to CBS, big, well-built, powerful, athletic rusher who loves the arm over swim move, and he's got an NFL body apparently right now. Like again, 6'4", 266. He's big, man. He's going to get to the quarterback. So, what are your thoughts on this pick for the Chiefs, who desperately need defensive help?
They definitely needed a pass rusher, so I think it's a good pick. It's surprising that he went this far. I'm very surprised that he fell this far. There has to be something on him for him to fall this far, because like you just said, he was almost in the top half of the draft on a lot of these mocks. The fact that he fell this far surprised me.
Right. According to CBS, some games he's dominant. Other games he's invisible. You know, some of these guys kind of phase out in depending on, where they are in the scheme or who they're playing against. But you don't want to draft the guy that gets lost in the shuffle either. So
no, I think speed might be an issue with him. Maybe it's the only reason he fell. But yeah, I'm still surprised that he's still available. I think the Chiefs are very happy that he's still available. I think it's a great pick by the Chiefs.
I like the Chiefs going defense here. This is one of the teams we were looking at coming into the draft as like big question marks after losing people. I think this is a good move by the Chiefs.
Agreed.
The AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals select Jackson Hill, defensive end, Michigan.
Yeah.
So Bengals obviously needed defensive help, and they go with the safety from Michigan, Daxton Hill, who was also at the draft waiting for his name to be called, but he ends up going to the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. What are your thoughts on this pick, safety out of Michigan?
I think it's a great pick. It's a pick of need. They needed a safety. They got the second best safety in the draft. Somebody even argues the best. I think they did very well. I think it's a good pick for the Bengals. They definitely needed help at safety. I believe one of their safeties is a free agent this offseason left. I'm not certain on that, but I think they did well.
He projects to be, they say, Devin McCourty, according to CBS. He's 6'1", 190. He was 2021 All Big Ten first team at Michigan, and he had a career high in tackles and pass breakups last year also. So they're saying, strengths are 5-star athleticism with versatility to play safety as well or corner. Great top-end speed. Does a good job sorting through traffic. They said weaknesses, limited ball production, explosive testing was below average. Maybe getting off blocks needs to do a little bit better.
I think in coverage, he's ready. He's already ready. Now, when it comes to being inside the box, like some safeties they do in the NFL, he'll need some time on that. He'll need to get some strength, get in the weight room. But I think it's a good pick. I think it's a safe pick by the Bengals.
Right, and I believe the Bengals addressed their offensive line already in free agency at least a little bit. So I think on the back end, they definitely needed some defensive help.
You see that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, coming off the Super Bowl, exactly. So the Minnesota Vikings, their pick is in at 32, and let's see what they do next.
The 32nd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Louis Zine, defensive back, Georgia.
Well, you got a defensive back.
I honestly don't know what to think. We need a defensive back.
You need one. He's safety from Georgia, Louis Zine, C-I-N-E. That's another Georgia defensive player taken off the board.
And they're all defensive, correct?
They're all defensive, yeah. All the Georgia defensive guys got taken on the board. I mean, he's 6'2 and a half, 200 pounds. Well, this is actually, it's one of the things you needed, so it's not a bad thing.
No, it is. I just didn't expect it. I didn't know. But then again, we're picking second tomorrow. I'm okay with it. But I don't know enough about this guy.
Right, neither do I. But I mean, look, if you kind of lean toward if he's starting at Georgia, he must be decent, and they won the national championship.
That defense was ferocious.
And it looks like he's fast as hell from the highlights, man. That guy that's a ball hawk.
Mel Kiper just said I think he ran a 4.37. That's impressive for safety. That's very impressive. Hopefully he can play near the line. That'll be the biggest thing.
Maybe the Vikings did something right here.
I don't know. So we added up more picks, but yeah.
They must have liked him because there's a lot of defensive backs still on the board, so they must have liked something.
Yeah, I thought they'd go Booth there. I really did. So I'm surprised, but good pick.
Well, that's going to wrap up the first round, I believe. So great show. We'll come back with some final thoughts on what we saw in the draft tonight. All right, as we wrap up the first round of the NFL draft live in Las Vegas, we definitely have some thoughts coming back, reacting to all the picks in the draft. It's an interesting draft. No top-end real playmaker. I mean, there's a lot of playmakers, but no, like, surefire number one picks. So what's your biggest takeaway from the draft so far?
My biggest takeaway is one quarterback win. I knew there wouldn't be a lot of quarterbacks going, but I'm surprised. And it being Pickett being the first one going, I thought it'd be Willis. That's my biggest surprise. Does that mean that we're going to go for Matt Scramble tomorrow for the early in the second round for a quarterback? That's where I'm curious. I just think I'm surprised that only one win.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Kenny Pickett, we talked about it earlier. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't pass up on the Pitt kid that they did in 1983 with Dan Marino. They maybe get this one right with Kenny Pickett, the hometown kid from Pitt. They desperately needed a quarterback. I don't mind the move for Pittsburgh. I think if they believe in this kid, then go for it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I think Pittsburgh had to get a quarterback. I think we can agree on that. I thought it would be Willis. I get why they went with Pickett. Especially playing his home games in college at Heinz Field, it makes sense. They've seen him a lot. But I thought they'd go Willis, or I thought they'd go somewhere else. Or I didn't think they'd go Pickett at 20. I'll just say that.
Right.
I thought maybe trade up for someone. Yeah.
This draft was dominated by defensive players, especially from Georgia, and wide receivers all over the board, like 6 or 7 of those. Pretty crazy. Who do you think was who had the best draft in your opinion?
With hands down, it's an easy pick because the pick 5 and 7 is the Giants, taking Thibodeau and taking the tackle. I think they did well.
Yeah, Evan Neal.
Evan Neal is a surefire guy. I think that the same Thibodeau. I think both those guys, to me, if you would have asked me the 2 guys for sure that would have done something in the pros were those 2 guys.
I
agree.
The
Giants got both of them, and they got better in the trenches. To me, you win games in the trenches, and I think the Giants did a fantastic job. Now the problem is, do you trust Daniel Jones?
I don't know. We'll see. Let me say this. For my favorite draft, just because you took the Giants, I'm going to go somewhere else. I actually think the Jets got it right in this draft, okay? They took Sauce Gardner, widely regarded as the best corner in this draft, okay, from Cincinnati. So they took Sauce Gardner. And then they took Garrett Wilson, that Zach Wilson can throw to now. I love that pick. Wilson was regarded as arguably the best receiver in this draft. They needed receiver help. And then, in my opinion, they may have gotten the steal of the draft with Jermaine Johnson from Florida State. Fell all the way down to 26 to the Jets. 3 first-round picks. I think they got them all right.
Saleh got 2 defensive guys today. I think Saleh's pretty happy. And they got the wide receiver. My only issue with the Jets is why not go get an established veteran wide receiver to pair with your young quarterback? That's my only issue. I agree with you. Wilson is going to be, I think, will be a good player. But you want a wide receiver that is established, especially with all those trades today. Why do they not go get one? But at the same time, I think the Jets, look at those personnel. They made the right moves.
Sure. Let's another notoriously bad team. Let's see if you think they got it right. The Detroit Lions take Aiden Hutchinson, the hometown kid from Michigan, the D end. That was a no-brainer for them. Great pick. And they also come back and get Jamison Williams, the wide receiver who's coming off an ACL injury out of Alabama. What are your thoughts on the Lions?
I love what the Lions did, and it's rare to say that. Aiden Hutchinson, it was a local kid, which makes sense too. I think as soon as they saw Walker went, they threw their card in to Goodell. They were ready to take him right away. And Jamison Williams, he is going to be good if he stays healthy. Like I said earlier, I think he's the number 1 wide receiver in the draft. He doesn't get hurt. He is the real deal. To pair him with St. Brown, they just need a quarterback. We both agree on this. It's not Goff.
Right, exactly. Maybe they do take a quarterback tomorrow. We'll see if the Lions can get – I don't know if the Lions can trade up and get one or whatever.
There's plenty of them left. Maybe Willis would be a nice one because Willis could sit 1 year behind Goff, and then they could put Willis in to pair with those 2 young guys. I think Willis would fit them perfectly. If they could somehow get him tomorrow, the Lions hit a hole – I still think they've done very well in this draft.
I want to talk about a surprise, and you know this guy well. We did not anticipate, and now that I think about it, Drake London going the first wide receiver off the board going to the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, Calvin Ridley is going to be suspended all of next year for his scandal that he went through. But are you surprised that the Atlanta Falcons went with Drake London, or is that where you think he should have gone?
There's a lot of uncertainty with Drake London. I think if Drake London, just like Jameson Williams, if both those guys didn't get hurt at the end of the year, those are two best wide receivers by far. I think they both would have been. I think they both definitely were top 10 picks. That's my only issue. Drake London can play though. He can go get the ball. He can go and do this. But who else do they have there? So now with what are you going to do? Just double Drake? There's no one else to pair. And Ridley, as we talked about earlier, suspended a year. That's my only issue. I am surprised that London was the first wide receiver taken, but Atlanta had to go wide receiver, don't you think?
They totally had to go wide receiver. Look, they obviously didn't believe in Malik Willis, and they didn't believe in Pickett. So if you don't believe in that's your guy, let's not overdraft the quarterback. Let's do what we draft a need. Maybe they didn't need they need a quarterback, but maybe not this one exactly. Let's talk about Baltimore. So I know you like their draft. Kyle Hamilton, the safety for Notre Dame, widely regarded as the best safety in the draft, falls to 14, right in the hands of Baltimore. And Baltimore also gets Tyler Lindenbaum, the center from Iowa, who's a lot of people say is going to be a consensus Pro Bowler. What are your thoughts on what the Ravens did in the first round?
I love what the Ravens did. Yes, they traded Hollywood Brown, but I do think they'll recover from that. They still got Bateman. They still got Andrews. They'll be okay with that. I love what they did with those two guys. I think Hamilton's a perfect guy. Like I said, he's a Swiss Army knife for their system and how they're going to use him. He's going to be amazing. And then to get Linderbaum, the center, arguably the best interior O-lineman in the draft, the Ravens, I think, did well. Outside of trading Hollywood Brown, I think they did fantastic.
I agree with you. Let's move to the disappointments of the draft. And we have to start in Tennessee. So the Titans trade A.J. Brown during the draft. Their best receiver by far. He is going to be a free agent after next year. However, you trade your best receiver and you draft a mid-round wideout from Arkansas. Traylon Burks from Tennessee.
And all he was known for was a straight runner. He's unproven. He's not polished. He will not make a huge impact next year in Tennessee.
No.
And like you said, they got rid of Brown to go get this guy. I really don't get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, 2-3 years from now, he could be fantastic. But for next year, Tannehill's contract has absolutely ruined the Titans. I thought the Cousins was bad. I mean, the fact that they couldn't bring back A.J. Brown and sign him after they developed him, I don't get it.
Let's go to the Packers now. So, of course, did they draft bad players? Not necessarily. They drafted 2 defensive players from Georgia. Can't really hate on that. However, they continue to not draft wideouts in the first round. I feel like, I don't know if they gave Aaron Rodgers a bunch of money. I understand that. But they're going to be good on defense. We know that. If you get 2 Georgia starters, you're going to probably be good on defense. What are your thoughts on them not going with offensive skill players in the first round?
I am very surprised by that. I mean, it was definitely a glaring need for them. They needed to get something to help out Rodgers. I mean, there's something there. I mean, I know they're set at running back, but a wide receiver and even arguably tight end, they need help. I don't get it. What are they going to do now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I don't get. I mean, who's the number one we talked about earlier? Is it Lazard now? They have nobody there. I don't get it. Yes, okay, I will say this. I do love their front seven. That front seven is going to be mean and fast, but helping out Rodgers, that's not helping him out, is a problem.
I agree with you. Last question mark we had was the New England Patriots. They drafted a guy named Cole Strange, as you alluded to, the strangest pick of the draft. They go with a guard. Now, I mean, could it help Mac Jones? Yeah, it could. I mean, it is what it is. Bill Belichick also struggles to find offensive skill players. So what are your thoughts on the Patriots taking kind of an unknown guard in this draft?
I am surprised, to be honest with you. I do trust Bill Belichick, but like you said, he does struggle with offense. I mean, you can never have enough O-line picks. There's no denying that. But still, a guy that's from Chattanooga, no one really talked about. I think ESPN said there was a 93% chance he was going to be there for the next Patriots pick. And they took him in the first round. I don't get it.
Last team I want to talk about is Kansas City. So Kansas City gets Trent McDuffie, the cornerback from Washington, and then Kansas City goes and gets George Karlaftis, the DN from Purdue. What are your thoughts on? I mean, it's clearly in need. They're going heavy defense, right? They did lose Tyreek Hill. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster in the offseason. What are your thoughts on what the Chiefs said, staying heavy defense?
Juju is not a number 1 wide receiver. Let me start with that. They probably should have taken another wide receiver, but they all were gone by then. I do like those two picks, though. I think both those guys will make an impact in the NFL, and I think next year they both will. Some of these guys might be developmental guys. I don't think either one of them is. I think they'll be set and make an impact. I think those were actually good picks by the Chiefs.
I got you. Well, any final thoughts on the draft? Anything else that you're surprised by or that you're looking forward to the rest of the draft?
I am curious to see what happens with the QBs.
With the QBs?
Yes. Yeah. I think we're going to have a frenzy of teams trying to trade up for QBs tomorrow. I really think that's going to happen. And I'm just surprised Willis didn't go. I think that's the biggest thing. Tomorrow, I'm just curious to see what happens to all the QBs. But there's a lot of uncertainty with them, as we talked about earlier. Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for the first round coverage of the NFL draft live in Las Vegas. We had a great time covering the draft, in it all and all that stuff. So happy to have my buddy Andrew on the podcast with me today. It was a lot of fun. So hope you guys will enjoy this episode and get our live reactions from the picks. But we had a great time, and that's going to do it for wrapping up the first round of the NFL draft. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.